What's going on, everybody? It's Professor Zeus, and I'm back with another video. If this is your first time at the channel, so I greatly appreciate you. Why don't you go ahead and hit subscribe? We are on our way to 1,000 subscribers, and we are taking it the humble route. So today we're looking at the economic blackout, the Black economic blackout, whatever you want to call it. And after doing a little bit of research, I want to give you guys, some of my findings and some of my thoughts about this whole idea. But what I found is that it was actually a white dude named John Schwartz, and he's got a decent following on social media, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all those things. And he decides to put together a economic protest. He tweets out or something. He calls it basically a boycott to these big corporations on February 28th, and that's the last day of Black History Month, and then that's also the day after my birthday. And it blows up, it spreads like wildfire, and somehow it lands on Black culture's lap. But the issue is, by the time it gets there, nobody knows where it came from. Right? Does that sound familiar at all? So stick with me. This is way, way, way more than just about boycotts. It's about jumping on bandwagons without doing the knowledge first and the proper research. And it shows us that through history, there's always a better way. So here's the deal, right? John Schwartz, he's just a regular guy. He's not a corporate whistleblower or anything like that. And he tweets out, he says, let's show these big companies who's boss. So he gets all his social media followers hyped up and starts picking up traction. And then the next thing you know, it's a game of telephone. His message gets shared, it gets twisted, lands on in places that he didn't expect it. But by the time it hits Black TikTok or Black Twitter, whatever you want to call it, it's morphed into something else entirely. People start calling it the Black economic blackout, thinking it's by us, for us, but the truth is it's not. So at this point, Schwartz is like scrambling, trying to keep up with all this momentum he's building, right? So he builds a website. He starts a group called the People's Union. But that group, it's not about Black culture, diversity, or equity or anything like that. It's just a bunch of folks who who are liberal, who are just trying to stick it to the man. Meanwhile, a lot of Black people, they're jumping in full speed with no brakes. Videos start popping up, posts start going viral, and suddenly it's our movement. Except, I don't know if anybody actually researched it. And I did. It took me 5 minutes to trace it back to this dude's TikTok, his Twitter, his Instagram, and that's where that's where I'm noticing things start to get messy. Now, I'm not here to bash anybody, right? I rock with people based on values and character. Race doesn't necessarily matter to me, and if you know me personally, you know that. But with this is like a wake-up call. Why are we so quick to hop on something without knowing what it's about, right? The Quran says in Surah 49, the private quarters, "O you who believe, if a wicked person comes to you with news, verify it, lest you harm people out of ignorance." Knowledge and wisdom, that's what we're supposed to chase. Surah 39, the successive group, verse 9 says, "Are those who know equal to those who don't know?" Spoiler, they don't. But it's like too often we move fast with no questions asked. Contrast this with the Montgomery bus boycott, right? 381 days of strategy, sacrifice, and patience. Rosa Parks didn't just sit down and like wing it. It's probably years of planning, right? Black people back then, they didn't riot or rush. I mean, there was obviously protests and gatherings and different things like that. But the most important thing is they were organized. Today we see Black in a hashtag and assume it's ours, right? That's how you end up following somebody else's agenda and not building your own, right? Because think about it. This isn't new. This is where it's going to get a little interesting. Remember Black Lives Matter? T-shirts on NBA courts, millions donated, and where to go? If you look at the founders now, they cashed out. They bought mansions. They're multimillionaires now. And essentially, they left that movement hanging. I don't hear anybody speaking about Black Lives Matter anymore. And I'm not saying that Black lives do not matter, but I'm saying the movement, I don't see anything about it anymore. But, you know, the women who created the movement, they created a huge thing, and they became multimillionaires. See, look it up. It's crazy. Look it up. Or even look in Detroit. The Detroit riots back in the day, you know, Black people were tearing up their own city, right? Out of anger. And, you know, things like white flight kicked into overdrive. And by the time you get to the 1980s in Detroit, it was a shell. And that kind of attitude and stuff like that stretched over to the 2008 crash. Decades of consequences because people acted without thinking long term. And now here we are, 2025, and you know, we're trying to bounce back. But in reality, when you think about impulsive moves, being impulsive doesn't just hurt you. It can hurt your kids, your grandkids. A lot of people get affected when people act impulsively and don't take a time to sit down, try to comprehend what's about to happen, try to comprehend what has happened instead of just acting irrationally. Now, I'm not saying John Schwartz's boycott wasn't evil. I'm not saying it is evil or anything like that. But I'm saying jumping in blind, that's how you get played. The People's Union could be anything. It could be some liberal, whatever, a grift, who knows, right? But the point is, if you don't research, you're a sheep and you're not a leader. You have to go out every single day before you make any action. Understand what type of action you're making and how this can impact yourself, your family, and your community. Don't just be so quick to jump into anything without doing the knowledge first. So my challenge to everybody really is to stop scrolling and start researching. Before you join the next big thing, ask yourself, who started it? What's their goal? And does that even align with you, myself? Because knowledge is power, right? The Bible doesn't lie, the Quran doesn't lie, and neither does history. We've got too much potential to be pawns in someone else's game. The Montgomery bus boycott proved we can move mountains with patience and purpose. We got to bring that energy back if we want to see real change, you know? But let me know what you think in the comments. Drop the comments below. Do you feel the same way? Did you look at it and be like, you know what? What's that really gonna do? Because if you think about it, before I leave, the Black economic blackout, right? They wanted to boycott just one day, right? Okay, the 28th. Awesome. They were telling everybody to stop buying from like Target or whatever. So get everything you need the day before. So that means you caused a shopping spree. So Target didn't really lose much, because if you go the day before to Target and you actually buy double of what you were going to get anyway, Target isn't losing. Target isn't losing. So guys, we have to think. We have to honestly think, man. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Leave a like if you haven't. Share this video with somebody who you might think might see some value in it, and you know, subscribe if you made it this far. We're on our way to 1,000 subscribers, and we are taking the humble route. And never ever forget, it's you and I verse for a reason. I teach you, you teach me. We both take what we taught each other, what we learned from each other, and apply it to what's going on. That's the only way life can go on. Until the next one. Peace.